imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. The Town of Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public hearing on Tuesday, September 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. to consider the following applications. Is there anything to come before the Conservation Commission this evening that's not on the agenda? Mr. Waldron, do you want to speak, or is that just you there?
Just listening in for the moment.
Good, okay. So hearing no citizens' concerns that are not on the agenda, we'll go to the first item on the agenda for 24 to 32nd Lane. Chris Garahan, do you want to read the notice?
Yeah, Dave, I got the legal notice here. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public meeting on September 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Patrick Larkin. The applicant wishes to raise an existing structure and construct a new single-family home at 24-32nd Lane. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay. I think the first thing that we need to discuss on this matter before we even get to the description of the building and the site is the fact that this building, this new building appears to be located within 50 feet of the wetlands. And I would draw everyone's attention to our section 187.5A, limitations on construction and disturbance, says the construction of any building as defined herein, and I'll get to the definition of a building in a minute, on any lot having an area of 40,000 square feet or more shall be prohibited within 50 feet of any resource area, excluding buffer zones, riverfront area, and land subject to flooding. The commission may, at its discretion, allow a shed, a playhouse, or other structure, provided that is built on footings requiring no more than 4 square feet cumulative ground disturbance and has a footprint no larger than 144 square feet. The definition of a building is a structure enclosed within exterior walls or firewalls built, erected, and framed of a combination of any materials, whether portable or fixed, having a roof to form a structure for the shelter of persons, animals, or property. For the purpose of this definition, roof shall include an awning or any similar covering, whether or not permanent in nature. My first question to the applicant is this a lot of greater than 40,000 square feet?
Yes.
It is. So why shouldn't this bylaw apply?
Well, section E of the same 187-5 says the reconstruction, alteration, extension, or structural change of a building existing on or before October 15, 1990 shall be exempt from the provision of 187-5A. However, said work should require approval from the Conservation Commission if within its jurisdiction.
Why isn't this a demolition and new building as opposed to reconstruction?
Say that again?
Why isn't the work you're going to do a demolition and new construction as opposed to a reconstruction of an existing building?
It says you can alter, extend, or structural change.
Well, but this is not that. This is
tearing it down,
you're
taking the building away.
Is that correct?
Correct. I'm going to be taking the building down and reconstructing a new building. Reconstruction of a new building.
Yeah, so I think that section A applies. And I think our conservation agent agrees with that. What does the rest of the commission feel? I think to me it's pretty clear cut.
I agree.
Who was that? Chris Tawula?
Yep.
Any
Yeah, I
other-
mean, I look at reconstruction as you have an existing building and you're adding on to it, or you're reconstructing it in place. I mean, this is a totally new structure. This is brand new.
Any other comments from any commissioners?
Hey, Dave, Chris here.
Chris
Callahan.
Callahan?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm also concerned because it's, it's a different footprint as well. So for the reasons stated by our agent, yeah, I agree with our agent.
Any other comments or opinions?
I agree. I think if the building was being added onto and not raised in new construction, but obviously it is raised in new construction, so no part of that building is being used in any degree.
I agree. There's several buildings that are gonna be raised here. I think this thing can be moved.
Well, there's that left-hand corner, which is within the 50-foot limit. Most of the building is outside of it. Small part of the footprint is with 50 feet. Does the applicant care to add anything?
Yeah, we've got two buildings there that are located within the area of the 50-foot buffer zone that are already, the area has already been disturbed.
Well, you got the pavilion, correct?
The existing house that's there right now it has already disturbed, and then the other existing house has been disturbed. I would say that you're saying the reconstruction, alter, extension. So if I did an extension to the existing house and extended it into the footprint, is that what you're saying? You can extend, but reconstruction it can be defined as taking something down and rebuilding it.
That definition relies on the building inspector. He'd have to give you what he thinks would be reconstruction to a certain percentage of the building. We can't give you that.
Yeah, our definition of a building goes to the building inspector's definition.
What is his definition of reconstruction?
You'd have to ask him specific. I mean, we have it in our regs, and I read it to you. It may not be specific enough for you. But as I said, it is,
Dave,
yes, Katie?
I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe his definition is, reconstruction is building within the same footprint.
Yeah.
If you tear down, you build in the same footprint, like exact footprint.
Yeah, but your provision calls for extension, alteration. What is an alteration?
That would be like tearing a wall down and putting a new one up,
Adding a room,
adding a room,
putting a second floor on.
putting a second, yeah. Yeah,
So in the past on other projects throughout the town, where this fell into reconstruction, you granted permission on other properties to reconstruct, to demolish a home of existence, demolish it completely and rebuilt on the two abutters to the left and right of this property. They
yeah,
reconstruct.
so the
what
commission
they fall on?
has the right to waive the 50-foot.
I don't think they can.
They can waive, you can still ask for a waiver.
I don't think they asked for a waiver in their application. A
Sure
waiver
they
of
did.
construction.
Yeah, they usually ask for a waiver of the 50-foot.
Well,
I don't know who you're talking about. Do you have a,
right, and unless we have,
Left and right of this property had an existing structure that was raised, demolished, and then they rebuilt within the 50-foot buffer zone.
well, unless we've got some specifics as that we can refer to. Here again, also, facts and circumstances for the individual application are the ones that are important. Precedent is fine, but facts and circumstances can change precedent. I would suggest that, are there any comments or additions from anyone in the audience? What I would suggest you do, because I'm going to entertain a motion to deny because you are within the 50-foot no build, that you come back to us with a.
Dave, there's some questions.
Is there?
I just had one.
Could I have your name and address?
There's some questions, Dave.
I'm Pam Rivard.
Yeah,
are you calling on me? Pam
Yeah.
Rivard, First Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question. Of the four houses, which two is Mr. Larkin proposing tearing down and replacing with one house? And where is that house placed?
Sir, would you want to answer her question?
The plan is to take down all four homes and rebuild four new homes.
Okay, but we're only looking at the proposed site, the proposed building that is closest to Hart Pond. That's the only one we're looking at tonight.
So the one closest to the pond, for this, tonight's meeting, we're looking at raising the one closest to the pond and rebuilding the new one where?
Right where it is.
In the footprint?
No, it's not exactly the same footprint, but it's approximately the same area. And that new building is, a section of it is within 50 feet of the pond, and that's the thing we're talking about.
Okay, so we're not talking about all the other
No,
houses.
we're not
that he's
talking
proposing.
about the ones in the back behind that. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Was there another comment or question from the audience?
Yeah, there was somebody else.
Could I have your name and address? If you still want to comment?
Muted.
Yes, hi. I'm Suzanne Lawler, 32 and 34 Second Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
I also want to make sure the committee was familiar with the right-of-way that exists between my property on Hart Pond and the abutters proposed project. There is a right-of-way that's owned by the Carlisle Baptist Church. And the construction setbacks that are in place now would prohibit, I believe, a house being built even in the existing structure.
That may very well be, but I doubt that that's a Conservation Commission issue.
Okay,
That would be zoning.
Okay.
Zoning. He has to go to zoning still.
Anyone else?
Dave?
Yes, Billy.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Larkin, is there a reason why you could not push the building back? Why you set the building where you did?
Yes, I set the building in order to work with the grades. Our intention was to do a walkout lower level. So based on the grades of the site, the further I push the building back, the more excavation I'm going to do. It won't be building built there, but it will be site work to regrade the site. So the further back I go, the more grading I'm going to be doing in order for the building to have a walkout.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And a portion of the building that's within the 50-foot buffer area was also going to be raised on, similar to a deck. It wouldn't have a foundation under it.
What part of that building that's in the 50 foot, is it all going to be on piers? Is that what you're saying?
No, a portion of it will be on piers, a portion of it.
And a portion would be foundation.
Approximately 50% of it would be on piers and the other portion would be on a foundation.
Okay, we can probably, are there any other comments? I think we
Well,
can.
I mean,
Go ahead. Yeah, Chris.
I'm just looking at the grade there, whatever sheet this is. One of their grading, one of their
201 to 209, right?
yeah, it's actually sheet 3, I think. I'm just looking at the grades, and I just don't see why it would be an issue to slide the whole thing forward. I mean, it looks like they're doing the finished floor of elevation 213, and if you pull it forward, you're going to be at elevation 213, and I mean, it's just earthwork. I mean, I don't see the need to pull it so close to the pond.
All right, we can do one of two things. We can continue this hearing and allow the applicant to rework the plans and come back to us when it's within a reasonable period of time, or we can deny, in which case he would have to start the administrative process over again. Is that?
Hey, Dave?
Can we continue, Katie? Wait a minute, Chris.
Sure.
Katie, can we continue?
We can.
Katie?
Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I said we can continue. You guys can still vote on if you want to waive the 50-foot and I think he needs a waiver from the 30-foot as well for a walkway.
Yeah. Is there a,
Hey,
I
Dave?
think yes, Chris, Garahan?
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that, I think we've got some good concerns here. What I'd suggest is that we give the applicant a chance to, let's consider continuing this to a future meeting, give the applicant a chance to look at his plans again and see if he could come back with some modified plans that might address our concerns that we would be able to act favorably on. And that would be my suggestion, rather than take a vote tonight. Give the applicant a chance to, take a look at the plans again, come back with something that could work for us.
I think
agree with that.
I think that's a reasonable suggestion. Any other thoughts? Chris Garahan, do you want to give me a motion to continue this? Mr. Larson, our next
do.
meeting is October 6th, and then we have a meeting on October 20th.
You want to ask the applicant first?
Well,
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. It looks like the two abutters still have their questions. Ms. Lawler and Ms. Rivard.
Ms. Lawler, do you have a conservation question?
I just wanted a clarification if this is a single family home or a multi-family home.
Single family.
Single family. And who was the other person?
Ms. Rivard,
Ms. Rivard?
she's on mute.
Forgive me if this is naive, but is it of particular concern there that there is such a grade down to the pond? My concern with this whole project is the health of the pond. We work really hard and have for years to protect it from the pollution. And I'm worried about the construction that close to the edge where it is a steep grade.
Well,
And
certainly-
especially if he pushes it forward.
Yeah, certainly during the construction sequence, we would require that the applicant could put in place either silt fences or straw wattles to prevent, there's two stages to the construction. One would be taking away the old building, in which case we don't want material blowing into the pond.
Mhm.
That's usually done in a day or less, and usually there's a chain link fence that can prevent blowing. The other would be during construction, we would require there to be, as I said, either straw wattles or silt fence to prevent construction material and to prevent erosion occurring if it were raining during the construction. That's pretty typical of what we do.
And post-construction, is this
Post-
commission concerned with,
Well, they would have to.
for instance, lawns going in close to the water or shrubbery or fertilizer? and all?
We would condition no fertilizers on the lawn within 100 feet.
But
No
certainly,
chemical fertilizers.
certainly lawns and shrubbery would prevent erosion.
And if he's permitted to build within the 50 feet, can he also take down all the trees around within those boundaries?
We do not have a specific bylaw, nor does the town have a bylaw about a private citizen removing trees.
Within the wetlands boundaries or,
Well,
setbacks or anything?
we couldn't remove trees in the wetlands.
Hey, Dave.
That certainly is excluded.
Dave,
Yeah, Katie?
there is a NIPD's permit required for clearing over an acre, and that's through the stormwater division of the town.
Yeah, but we don't know what that is yet.
It's clearing of trees of an acre. or
No,
more.
I understand, but we don't know what's going to happen on the site yet.
Right.
So Mr. Larkin has already done a considerable clear cutting of the property. And to put a house where he's proposing is going to take down, if you could see I'm looking at his survey, another quite lot of trees in that area. So he only has 1.4 acres, 4 or 5 acres to begin with, to work with. And Mr. Larkin, maybe you can clarify how much you've already clear cut, but it looks like it's approaching an acre.
Well, let's not get, I don't think we want to get into that discussion this evening. If the board is either going to deny because he's within 50 feet, then the discussion is moot. If the applicant, if the board chooses to continue, then we will have that discussion when we see the revised plans.
Okay, so that discussion would be under your purview.
Well, as Katie said, there is a state application for tree removal, which would have to be followed. It may have to be followed, let's say that. But to go back to the applicant, I think there is one sense of the board that we continue this. Is one of those 2 meetings more appropriate for you?
The 20th.
Okay.
It would be better for us to make, so we could make any modifications
All right.
in the timeline.
The board can do one of 3 things, and I will entertain whoever moves the motion. One is to deny based on the building being within 50 feet. The other is to waive the 50-foot no build. And the third would be to continue the hearing until October 20th.
Dave,
Yes, Chris?
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this meeting until October 20th at 7 PM.
I second.
Seconded by Carl Bishop. Any discussion?
Dave,
Yes?
this is because we anticipate that we're not going to approve the 50-foot and giving him the opportunity to redo his plan.
I think that's a tacit
Sense
approval.
of the board was.
I think that's a tacit assumption, correct, Billy?
Okay. So he's going to need to come back with a plan that shows the building outside the 50-foot.
Correct.
Okay.
All in favor of Chris Garahan's motions? Chris?
Yes.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Chris Tamula?
Yes.
John Swenson? John Swenson?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. So this will be continued until Tuesday, October 20th. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
then. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is notice of intent, continuance for 236 to 240 Groton Road for a residential subdivision. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Katie Enright, on behalf of North Star Realty.
Hi, Katie. How are you tonight?
Good.
You want to take us through this? I think you've redesigned the project a bit.
Correct. So Katie, if you can let me share.
We don't have to read any notice. Correct. Go ahead.
There we go. All right. So we've done a little redesign since the last hearing. We heard a significant amount of comments from the abutters and the planning board. And also we had a walk with the Conservation Commission that some of the planning board members were able to attend. And so we went back to the drawing board a bit to try and satisfy as many of the abutters' concerns as we possibly could. So what we have before you tonight is, again, a 12-lot subdivision. Each lot has a duplex building on it. The major thing that we've done is pulled the 2 houses that were on the other side of the National Grid easement into the site further. This is where we had walked that day to look at the area in the easement. Burton Lane is right to
Show
the back.
everyone, show everyone where Burton Road is, would you
Yeah,
please?
this is Burton Lane right here. Right at the bottom of the page. So we've moved everything inside the easement, which satisfied quite a few of the abutters' concerns and the concerns of National Grid certainly also. In doing this, we were able to shorten the road a little bit. And we were able to relook at drainage a bit. And in relooking at drainage, what we've done is we've concentrated all the drainage at the front of the lot near Groton Road and the back of the lot. Previously, we had a little going to the back, a little going to the front, and a bunch going to the middle, the existing depression that's here, the isolated wetland that we saw in the middle of the forest back in this area. In looking at the drainage, one of the things that we wanted to accomplish was to leave as many of the mature trees up as possible. You know, a lot of the people in this area said that sound attenuation, that the trees really help with the proximity to the highway. So by looking at the drainage in this way, we've not only stayed away from the isolated wetland and we no longer have to do work in and around the isolated wetland, but we've also been able to keep a significant amount of mature trees in that area. So you'll see we have pretty significant tree line now that we've been able to leave. And we're now accommodating all 12 lots on the subdivision road. So the drainage itself, now, again, we accomplish all of the stormwater management guidelines. With this design, the front pond got a little bit larger, the back underground area got a little bit larger. We're leaving the isolated wetland alone, and we're outside of 50 feet from it with the tree clearing. And then BVW jurisdiction, we're outside of the 50 with the house. We're actually right on the 50 with the clearing of the trees in this location right adjacent to the highway. And that's the BVW, that's the swale right along the edge of the ramp here. And then the other wetland comes in towards the back down in this corner here, and we're outside. We're basically at the 30 with the tree line here and the grading that we're proposing here. So, you know, I hope you'll find that these are significant improvements, not only for Conservation Commission reasons, but also for planning reasons and for the neighborhood, and that you'll approve this new plan.
Thank you. Katie, Groton, has engineering looked at this now?
I believe so.
Do we have a letter from them?
I don't have a letter.
Okay, so that's open.
Yeah.
I have a letter for planning board, Katie, if you want me to forward it to you right now.
Yep.
Katie Enright, I have a couple of questions. This will be a homeowners association who will be responsible for maintaining the two areas, one down to the right and one up to the north.
So I'm just going to send this email to Katie.
Go ahead, do that first.
Multitasking.
Go ahead, do that
There's
first.
the planning board letter. So I went back and forth with DPW for a while. First, I said that they were going to be in a homeowners association. They came back to me and said, no, they don't have to be. And then this latest letter, they said, please do it. Please do a homeowners association. So the homeowners association.
That should require that we be notified that maintenance of those two areas has been, in fact, been accomplished on an annual basis.
Yes, and we've put in our operation and maintenance plan, the requirements for both of those systems.
Okay.
Those would be included in the homeowners association's documents.
And then another question is, where do you put snow?
So there's quite a lot of area actually to put snow, because basically we're only doing sidewalk on one side of the road, and there's pretty significant landscape areas between. I mean, each of these lots is over half an acre.
Yeah.
So it's really just like a regular subdivision road, where the snow will be one road along the side of the road. And in most cases, all of the areas adjacent to the road are higher, so the water will go through the stormwater system.
Refresh my memory. Where is the isolated wetlands and where is the 50-foot limitation? Probably down, the 50 foot's probably down by the cul-de-sac, correct?
This is the little isolated guy right here in the middle.
So, yeah, so you're nowhere near that, right?
Right, this is the tree line over here. And then on this side, this is the 50 foot right here, no building. And this is the closest building.
Okay. All right.
It's-
Other questions from the commission? Chris Garahan?
Dave, I'm good, thanks.
Mark Gibbs?
No, I don't have any questions.
Carl Bischoff?
No questions. I like the improvements.
Chris Tamula?
No, I'm good, Dave.
John Swenson?
I'm good.
Billy Vines?
That looks fine to me, Dave.
Okay. Katie, what's the construction sequence briefly? I didn't see, it's not listed on the plans that I saw, but roughly what is the construction sequence? Is it in the back there?
It's a tiny little generic one here.
That's why I didn't see it, I guess.
That's okay. Certainly the first thing that we would want to do is put up any erosion controls that would define the limit of work. So there'd be basically a limit of work and erosion controls around any area that's downhill from this to define where the tree clearing is going to go and where the erosion controls would go. And typically Katie comes out and looks at those to make sure that they're properly put in and in place. Then we'd install a construction entrance at the front of the site to make sure that we're not tracking materials out onto Groton Road. And then they'd start clearing and grubbing. So clearing the site, stumping the site, making sure all of that vegetation is clear.
The infiltration system will go in first, or at least the area?
And the stormwater management system, right, has to go in, and the infiltration system will have to be flagged out so that we're not getting heavy vehicle traffic over that during construction. So stormwater management system goes in. Then essentially the roadway, all the utilities will go in, the roadway. And certainly during that process, they'll probably start to pull building permits or foundation permits to start some of the building of the homes. And then essentially we'll have to have it pretty well, the roadway itself pretty well wrapped up before they're going to start, before the town will start handing out occupancy permits. So typically that's all done. And usually some of the last things to be done are the landscaping and then making sure everything is, all the grass is grown in and all of our buffer areas are secure before any of the erosion and sedimentation controls come out. Usually I have my clients wait until we've gotten their certificate of compliance or Katie's been out to make sure that she's happy with everything. So,
Katie, has your client built anything this size before?
So my client's not going to build this. It's actually, she's going to put it up for sale. They are not builders. And so this will be a project that will be sold to a developer.
As is presented to us.
Correct.
So if the developer wants to make any changes, he'll have to come back to us.
Exactly. Anything within the buffer zones will have to come back to this commission, and anything really within the plan changes will have to go back to the planning board. Anything substantial.
Any questions from, any other questions from the commission?
Being that the information we just heard was given out, is there any sense of how long this project's going to take?
So right now, I had a call with my clients today. They are exploring the subdivision, but as you've heard, storage capacity issues in town and the septic system. We are exploring a couple different options out here.
Can somebody put their unit on mute? There's a lot of background noise. I'm sorry, Katie, go ahead.
That's okay. So the next step on this project, because we have secured sewer because of the fact that this has already been through the process based on today's sewer moratorium, is that we would actually have to extend the sewerage from this site all the way to the other side of the highway, over near Scotty Hollow. We'd also have to extend the water from this site to Scotty Hollow to tie into both sewer and water. So the next steps would be to engineer and permit that through Mass DOT with DPW. But we're also exploring the option of looking at the possibility of septic systems and not tying into the town sewerage. But that would again require us to come back to both this commission and the planning board to make those modifications if we decided to go that way. So it's going to take a while. That's the long story, Mark. It's going to take a while. I would expect quickest that maybe construction could start over the winter or in the spring. There's no way this is happening in the next couple of weeks. Oops, Mark, you're on mute.
Dave and Mark, you're both on mute.
Mike, Mark has raised in the past, and I share his concern that this project would get started and then would stop, and there would be, land left open and construction left open, and there might be erosion on this site.
So we will also have to file a NIPD's permit and prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which would be turned over to the engineering department. And we would have to file with the EPA because we would definitely be clearing more than an acre of land. So those items will also be in there to protect that. And those have very defined limits as to when stockpiles need to be covered and when areas need to be seeded and stabilized so that they're not left for long periods of time.
Mark, anything else? Mark Gibbs, any other questions? Chris Tamula, did I give you a chance?
Yeah, I'm good, Dave.
Carl Bischoff, I can't recall if I asked you.
Yep, all set. I'm good.
John Swenson?
No, that is definitely my concern, is the longevity of the project.
Excuse me, who's speaking?
I think it's Mark. I think he's frozen.
Go ahead, Mark Gibbs. Are you asking a question? No, we can't hear you, I don't think. Why don't you hold,
Mark's got
why don't
technical issues.
yeah, why don't you hold off for a minute, Mark Gibbs? John Swenson? You have any questions, John?
No, I'm not saying anything. No, I am not. I'll mute myself.
Billy Vines?
I'm good, Dave.
Mark, are you back on? Mark Gibbs?
I did not have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the audience on this project?
Yes,
Mr. Dearden, can I have your name and address, please?
John Dearden, 223 Groton Road. Does this project require a digging up of Groton Road to put in sewage and water?
Ms. Enright?
Yes, it will. That we will have to permit separately with Mass DOT and with the local DPW because this project would require both a water upgrade from Scotty Hollow's driveway to the project site and also a sewer upgrade from almost as far as Scotty Hollow to the project site to be able to accommodate the development.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Dearden?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the sewage. What is the plan for the sewage of this site? Is it going to be a septic system? Is it going to be, it's going to go into town sewage? Is this part of this possible moratorium on our sewage capacity?
So currently the moratorium that was issued today allows us to tie into sewer because we had already been in the planning process and started to get permits. So we are actually allowed to connect to sewer.
And I heard you say you would connect down Groton Road, under Route 3, over to Scotty Hollow, correct?
Correct.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Dearden?
It does answer my question. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? So we can approve this tonight. Do we have that, do we have an adequate letter from engineering, Katie, now that Katie sent over to you?
Yes. Yep.
So there's no outstanding issues. Are there any special,
Basic engineering comments.
I'm sorry?
Yep. It's
Okay.
basic engineering comments.
Okay. Are there any special conditions that the commission would like on this project? Other than our standard conditions? We are going to see an annual report on the infiltration system and the sediment bay as part of the plan. Is that correct? Katie Enright?
Katie, yes, that is correct. And Katie,
Okay, so
usually
that-
you have
So
something in the,
that's in the standard conditions. That's not a special condition. Mark, sometimes you have construction comments for special conditions. Do you have anything unique on this or not?
No, I don't think the quality of wetlands is an issue with.
No, it's. Right, certainly by moving those units to the other side of the power easement has made the conservation questions somewhat limited.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, any other comments or special conditions? I will entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions for 236 to 240 Groton Road.
So move, Dave.
Moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
Second.
By Billy Vines. Discussion.
Dave, just a point, I just, again, I appreciate the changes and the modifications that were made to the plans that addressed a number of the commission and abutters concerns. So I really appreciate that.
Good. All in favor? Chris Garahan?
Yes.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Yes.
Chris Tamula?
Yes.
John Swenson? John Swenson?
He thumbed up.
Aye.
Bill Vines? Dave McLaughlin, yes. Thank you.
thank you all very much.
Next item on the agenda is a request from the applicant for 44 Central Square to continue this hearing. Do we have a date? October 6th, October 20th?
We would like October 6th. If
Can you give us an explanation as to why it's being continued?
Yep, so thanks for the commission for coming to last week's planning board meeting. I appreciate that, but I have to re-engineer the entire plan before you can see it. So I couldn't do that by last Thursday when we
Why not?
planned Wednesday evening, so I need a little more time. So my plan is to have it into you the Thursday before the next Conservation Commission meeting, if that's adequate for Katie and the commission. To discuss that evening.
Yep.
I don't think it's a
That
problem
works.
for us. It's probably maybe a problem for you, but okay.
That's the plan.
I will entertain a motion to continue the hearing for 44 Central Square until Tuesday, October 6th. Chris Garahan?
So moved.
So moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Billy Vines. Any discussion? All in favor? Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Chris Tamula?
Yes.
John Swenson?
Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Good night.
Next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance at 5 Morning Glory Circle. Katie?
Yep, this is an old one. from
I'm
2000
sorry?
It's an old order from 2002. It was for the construction of the home, part of the cul-de-sac. Everything's fine there. There's no encroachment in the wetlands or anything. It's basically the house and the lawn that was approved on the plan. New owners just moved in and they're looking for the COC.
Okay, any questions? I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP number 1290586.
So moved, Dave.
Moved by Chris Garahan, seconded by Billy, who's that, Billy Vines?
Sure.
Okay,
Mark.
Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Chris Demula,
Aye.
John Swenson,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Next item is a certificate of compliance for 7 Technology Drive. Katie, which building is that? Do you know?
That is the long skinny lot.
Is it commercial or is it residential?
Yeah, it's commercial.
Commercial, okay.
Yep, and it's an old one from 1998 when the building was constructed.
I take it they're selling the building. Is that the one that's up for sale?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it's selling or sold. I can't remember if it's already sold. But same thing. There's no work, no new work beyond the limit of parking lot surrounding the building. Pretty tight lot. The wetlands are off to the side, but there's no encroachment, and the building is where it should be. Same with the parking lot.
Any questions of Katie? Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 7 Technology Drive, DEP number 1290481?
So moved.
So moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Carl. All in favor, Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Chris Demula,
Aye.
John Swenson,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Next item is a discussion of Blaisdell and Alcon area beaver issue. This is a new one, right?
It's kind of new. It's actually really old for the DPW. They're very familiar with it. It's the bike path runs behind the neighborhood, and there's a culvert under it that constantly gets blocked by beavers. The whole neighborhood is in flood zone, and all the houses are built up on fill. If you look at them on the GIS, you can see.
For those of you who may remember, a former commissioner lives on Alcon. What's your name?
Corey.
Corey, yeah, Corey lives on Alcon. And there's
Yeah.
there's a big house at the end, right?
Right. That one sold a while back. We did a COC for it, I think.
So what is it that people?
Well, it's an ongoing issue. Every year I get a call from 1 or 2 of the residents over there. It's more of a DPW thing. They really just need to stay on top of clearing it. The problem is they can't get the equipment that they use to clear culverts normally over there because it's the bike path. So they can't drive the crane that they have with the arm. So they have to put people in wetsuits down into the water, and they pull out all the junk the beavers put in there by hand. So it never fully gets cleared 100% because human arms aren't very long compared to a crane arm. So it's constant buildup, and
They can't, the bike trail's not wide enough to get the equipment down?
right. And it's fenced. So the DPW is pretty good at staying on top of it, but beavers can rebuild in 12 hours. So I haven't heard anything more. This was a couple weeks ago. We were talking about maybe trapping the beavers. They've done that over there before. But the resident did get back to me and said the DPW came out, cleared it again, and they promised to keep checking it on a weekly basis. So far it's been quiet. I just wanted to bring it to the commission's attention.
Is this on, this should be on DPW's annual maintenance program?
Oh, yeah, I think it's on more than annual because
Okay.
it is a problem spot.
Well, you can always ask Mark Gibbs for his professional opinion
On beavers or culverts?
on beavers and culverts.
I got nothing.
Just,
He hates beavers.
just a side note, I have a friend that I just saw a Facebook video of a very aggressive, not aggressive, but not shy beaver right in that, it must be that same area.
Probably.
Like a week ago, and he was watching the beaver with his dog, and the beaver was like 6 feet from the dog and just going about his business and didn't care that he was there.
Yeah, we better keep our eyes and ears open. This is the second beaver issue brought to our attention a couple of months.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on it. Okay. Next item is an update on land management. Let's take Russell Mill Reservation first. Two things on Russell Mill. One is that DPW has installed a fire gate at Noble Drive. New England Mountain Bike Association is going to put in 2 excavation routes, one at Noble Drive and one at the parking lot in Russell Mill. The excavation routes will be up to 2 miles long. We'll have markers every quarter of a mile that have a number on them so that if anybody is hurt and are close enough to them, they will be able, and we'll have to come up with a procedure to do it. They'll be able to call and tell them where they are approximately in the Russell Mill Reservation. The New England Mountain Bike Association has volunteered to pay 100% of the signage costs, which I think is great.
Yeah.
They think it'll cost $1,500 to $2,000 for the signs. They're working with Chief Donahue. Apparently he wants a trail that's 5.5 feet wide, which is not unusual. So they will make sure that that's constructed. That'll be to take the gator into the Russell Mill Reservation. We will not put a lock on the fire gate. Chief Donahue has said he wants to see how it works with no lock on the gate. Trouble is you put a lock on the gate and they've got to get shears to break the lock because nobody can ever find the key. So we should also thank, and we will thank the DPW. As far as I know, they're picking up the cost of the fire gate as well. So that project is moving along. Part and parcel with that one is a proposal from COST, which I think you have in front of you, to construct a native garden in the reservation. When the town bought the Russell Mill building that they were going to, remember the town paid what, $475 for that building, and then decided they didn't know what to do with it, sold it off to Mr. Harvey, but kept an acre or so of land on that parcel, which is now part of the Russell Mill Reservation. That parcel of land has been cleared by COST very nicely. They took out all of the invasives. That parcel has an existing shed on it, which now belongs to the town. And Phil and COST would like to undertake more invasive removal and would like to put in a walkway. He describes it as a road. I think it's really a 5.5 to 6 foot walkway that will go from the parking lot through the proposed garden down to the property line for the Russell Mill, you know, the Red Mill building. There's a chain link fence there. And at some point, we may be able to negotiate with the trust a way for them to have access to the parking lot so that if they have functions, it will be an easy walk from our parking lot down to their property. And in addition, there is a proposal to construct a small boat launch at the lowest point of our property and the Russell Mill Pond itself, which has got about a 2 to 3 foot drop. And Phil is the planting of the gardens will be done by volunteers. I suspect he'll have work with various garden clubs in town. I think it's a great idea. The only thing we need, and Carl, you may add something to this because I think you've had some say in it. What we do have to remember is that we need to file a notice of intent to put a pier or deck, a dock, into Mill Pond. It should not be a problem because it's not considered a great pond. It's not going to screw up the water flow. It's not going to screw up the wildlife, but it still needs to be filed under a notice of intent. I don't know when that project will begin. It's probably the last of the projects, and it's going to be a scout project. So we'll have to work with someone at cost to make sure the notice of his intent is filed with DEP. And here again, we'll be the applicant for ourselves on that one. I think this is a great project, and I think it will add a lot of value to that site. So we've got two groups that are spending quite a bit of effort and in some cases money on Russell Mill. We've got the New England Mountain Bike Association and we've got the Chelmsford Open Space Stewards. I don't know what this project is going to cost and who's paying for it. Do you by any chance know that, Carl?
No, I don't. I believe the cost of we're talking about the boat ramp, I don't think that's a lot of money. It's really just a canoe launch.
Right.
It's pretty minimal, and all of the other work that's being done, like fixing up the shed, generally we don't.
Is that a new shed or is that using the existing one?
It's using the existing one.
Because the picture is of a new shed.
Yeah, I think the idea that Phil had is we can paint it and buff it up a little. But it seems to be.
And I take it the flowers will be hopefully contributed by whoever plants them.
Correct. Yeah, that's what we would expect, yeah.
And do you guys have the material for the pathway?
I'm not sure. I know Phil has talked about what he wants to put in there, but it's the same thing that they put in at Sunny Meadows, but I'm not sure.
It has to be pervious. It has to allow water to flow through.
Yes, for sure. Yep.
This is a new proposal from cost to us. So what does the commission think of it?
I think it's a great idea, Dave.
What are your thoughts about allowing boating on Mill Pond from the reservation?
I like it, Dave.
It's going to be pretty much a canoe or a kayak.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe we can get some people to pull up some of the water lilies.
I'd like to keep some kind of, we don't run into the same problem we do up at North Chelmsford where people leave their boats there. I don't want that to happen.
Right, we'll have to make sure that there are some use regulations for it. You're correct, Mark. We'll have to, we can take our existing use regulations and modify them for this. You're right, we don't want people leaving stuff there all year. If Billy says, if it's canoes and kayaks, most people have got them on their car roofs anyhow, right?
But it always seems to turn into more like people building fire pits.
Well, you're right. You're right. We're going to have to make sure that doesn't happen.
That
would be the only. If we thought we couldn't control it, that might be a reason not to do it. I think we can control it.
The good thing that site with all the work we did with the invasives, it's quite a bit more open now than it used to be.
Oh yeah, it's wide open.
So if the police pull in the parking lot at all, or anybody looking, they'll see almost all of it, unless you go down the hill to where the canoe launch is. That's the only part you wouldn't really be able to see.
Any other comments? Chris Garahan?
Dave, yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, I think with kayaks and canoes, rowboats, as long as it's nothing, no.
Does anybody
no
know? I don't,
rowboats.
John Swenson, you might know, you can't take a kayak under Boston Road, can you?
No,
No, you have to stay in that lower pond.
that's correct.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know how much use it's gonna get. It clearly meets the definition of passive recreation. It's one more thing we're offering to the town. Okay, any other comments, Chris Tamula?
No, I'm good.
Billy, we had your comments. So what I'd like to do is to approve the project and as presented to us, but notify Phil that he's going to need to file a notice of intent, and it's not big deal for the dock, and that I think won't be till next year anyhow. I don't know if he's smart or if he's lucky, he can maybe get some plants in, but I don't even know if he's got anybody really lined up until next year.
This has kind of fallen off our radar for a little while. I was kind of surprised to see it here because he and I haven't talked about this at all in weeks or months even.
I'm surprised he turned it around this quickly. You're right.
Well, the Warren Poll stuff has got us, that's got all our attention lately, so.
Okay, can I have a motion to give our tentative approval to the native plant garden at Russell Mill, acknowledging that a notice of intent will have to be filed for the pier, for the dock?
Move.
So moved by Billy. Second?
Second.
Seconded by, okay, any discussion? Any comments from the audience? All in favor? Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
All right,
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
John Swenson,
Aye.
Billy Vines,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Just one last update, and that's on Warren Poll. Paul Cohen is forming a subcommittee to come up with a plan of how to manage Warren Poll. I think he said until a conservation restriction is negotiated. This parcel, unlike Oak Hill, but similar to Sunny Meadows, Sheehan Farm, and Pond Street, will have a conservation restriction which restricts the property to conservation purposes. I suppose it will be as defined in the agreement. I don't know who will hold the restriction. Normally, it's a private entity, not the town. The big deal is going to be parking lot location, access and limitation thereof to the site, use of the site, whether it's just trails, whether it's passive, whether there'll be any agriculture on it. I think those are the major considerations. There is a warrant article this fall for the town to acquire a sliver of property on, is it Park or Parker?
Parker.
On Parker, which is right across the street from where a sliver of Warren Poll land accesses Parker. The idea being that if it made sense, we could actually have people cross the street, Parker, from Warren Poll into the Wright Reservation. It's also possible we could expand the parking in the Wright Reservation to provide more cars. I doubt that it would be enough. to provide more cars for Warren Pole. The dilemma with parking at Warren Pole right now is you can't really bring traffic in off of Boston Road. So they're going to have, this subcommittee is going to look at alternate sites for parking. So that's where we are in Warren Pole.
Dave, could I bring up a question?
Yeah.
Do any of the committees have a thought or any kind of how the land should be used? Do we have any input on that?
Well, I
I'm
think
in
we do.
favor of
I would hope,
passive recreation.
I would hope this subcommittee of the Conservation Commission its thoughts. And if they don't, there's a problem.
Right, right.
I know there is some discussion. Well, first of all, the committee has not been formed formally. There are some names that have been bandied about, but I don't know other than, and we've asked Carl Bischoff to go on for us, although he also represents CPC and he also represents cost. But he's going to go on to, I think, to represent our interests. One of the thoughts that Carl and I had kicked around about is, remember, we're going to have to do something with the hayfield, which is pretty big. Because either it gets maintained or it goes to seed. And right now, some invasives are growing in the hayfield because I think they were mowed once last year, maybe? I don't know. Normally you mow a field like that, you mow it twice a year. You don't necessarily do anything with the hay, but you cut it back. And so, I don't know the contours of the lot yet, but you can't walk all over that property because there's some sections that are pretty wet. So the location of trails, I think, is open for discussion. One possibility I certainly don't want it to be commercially agriculture, like Sheehan Farm. I don't want to lease it out. And I don't think Paul does either. One possibility would be to allow, if there's a need, we'd have to allow some more community gardens in there so people could actually see what community gardening was all about when they were walking through the reservation. I'm not suggesting, I don't know how big it would be, but I would not think it would be as big as Watton or as big as Sunny Meadows, certainly. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm still at a bit uncertain as to what Paul is going to charge this subcommittee to do. I haven't seen that yet.
So Dave, I'm not sure that I would say the subcommittee isn't formed because I think that's the group that I'm working with Phil already and a handful of other people.
Have you got names?
Yeah, the names I sent you. I sent you that.
Oh, okay. I thought those, I had asked somebody else and they said, no, those weren't the names. So.
Well, that's where, yeah, we got to close that off with Paul, I think, because it's a little unclear to me. That being said,
tell the committee who the names are.
So it's Phil and myself, Mike Reardon, Becky Warren, not Mike Reardon, Mike Raisbeck,
Arroway.
Bernie, I'm sorry?
Arroway. What's her name? What's her first name?
No, she's not on it. No.
She's not on. Okay.
No. Steve Mayotte, although Steve has not been involved in any of the discussion, and Max Winter, and I think there's somebody else. I'm forgetting who it is.
Bernie, ready?
Yeah, Bernie. Yeah, for the chicken coop. He wants a chicken coop co-op. And so Mark, to your point, if anybody has any input on what you think about this, certainly send it to me, to Phil, whoever you want to send it to. This Saturday and Sunday, we are doing a public input session it will be at Sunny Meadows. We're not going to Warren Pole for this because we don't own the property yet. And we really don't want to do it right there. So we're doing it at Sunny Meadows, 10 o'clock in the morning, Sunday and Saturday. It'll be posted. Paul said he will get it posted on the town website. We have a document that's it's too big in my opinion already, but it's a good sized document. It's got a lot in it. It's kind of an umbrella document with lots of ideas and plans and thoughts. So there's already a lot going on here that it's moving pretty quick. But to Mark's point, I think if anyone on the Conservation Commission has input, we're certainly open to it.
I mean, if you think of it, guys, there is two kinds of open space other than ball fields in Chelmsford. One is the open space defined by conservation reservations. The other is open space defined by farms right now. That is, as I said, Sheehan. Oh, actually not. It's Sheehan, it's Sunny Meadows, and it's Pond Street. Those are not conservation reservations. Those are under the jurisdiction of the town manager, as far as I know. The three of them have conservation restrictions on them that are held by the Chelmsford Land Trust. We have historically had very specific definitions of conservation reservations. And if you look at all of our 8 or 9 named reservations, they're all very similar in their use. And from my perspective, I would like to see that similarity carried on to the Warren Pole property. The dilemma in my mind might be that Warren Pole's geography is quite different than the geography of the other reservations. And I'm not sure about what that is yet, because I haven't seen any work from this subcommittee. I think it would be a mistake to make it a commercial farm on one extreme. So, but Carl's right. I mean, if anybody's got any ideas, either show up on Saturday. What time was it Saturday?
10 o'clock.
Show up on Saturday and Sunday or Sunday, or send a note, actually send a note to Carl.
Yeah.
Anything else? Katie, you got anything?
I had Bill go out. I don't know if you did, if you had time, Bill, to check out Willis.
Yes, I did.
Across from 75 Willis, we own a narrow strip of the shore, and I had a resident come in and say his neighbor was dumping gravel to make like a parking area. Is that what you kind of found, Bill, or yet more?
It's probably 2 wheelbarrow loads of 3/4 stone dumped over there. It looks like it was more dumped to fill some washout.
Okay.
I mean, you could park there whether the stone was there or not. So
Okay.
I haven't seen anybody. I've been by there about 3 or 4 times. I haven't seen anybody park there.
Okay.
But it looks to me like they were just kind of filling a couple of voids to keep the washing into the lake. So
Yeah, this person pretty much hated all his neighbors around him. So
yeah, this wasn't somebody trying to make a parking spot.
okay.
Was it him or her? Okay.
Careful, Katie. This is recorded.
Katie, we had an inquiry about equipment storage on Acton Road. Was there anything to that one? Do you know?
Acton Road? Oh, is that letter that we got?
Yeah. Yeah. Where is it? Hold on for a sec here. Yeah, I got an Acton Road. I don't know what number. It's just out of town. It's not, somebody said heavy equipment was being stored on the site, and there's a lot of wetlands there.
I haven't heard anything further on that.
Okay. Anything, We don't have any minutes to approve.
I haven't heard from Vivian at all. I need to contact her.
She's listening to this meeting tonight, she said.
Okay.
Yeah, but so Vivian, we got a backlog of minutes we need to get to. Any big projects coming before us next meeting?
I have no new filing.
Okay. Anything else anyone want to bring up? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, Dave.
Okay, all in favor? Chris?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gibbs? Bischoff?
Aye.
Swenson?
Aye.
Fines? Okay, that's it. Where do we want to go?
Anybody going out tonight?
I will.
Going to bed.